Bonjour, mon chéri fairies. I missed you. How are you? I'm back. I took a hiatus and now I have time to make another Femme Petal Fairy Friday episode. This week we're going to talk about the Kelpie. The Kelpie is a mythical, magical, maniacal waterhorse that is beautiful and mysterious as much as it is dangerous. So if you're traveling in the Realm of Fae, there's a lot of information you need to know about the Kelpie. The Kelpie can shapeshift. It can turn into a human form, whether it's male or female, that's up to the Kelpie, or most often a horse form. The horse form is usually seen in different variations of color. It can be black, bay, gray, or white. The Kelpie has numerous powers. It can shapeshift. It can grow its back so that it can accommodate multiple riders, and it can convince you or trick you to ride on its back to your watery grave. The Kelpie is considered extremely dangerous. Under no circumstance should you ever accept a ride from a Kelpie. Normally, Kelpies will allow people to ride them and then take them into the water to drown them, then devour them, then discard their entrails. So it's best just to avoid any horse that you see next to a river or a lake because it could be a Kelpie. A few characteristics of the Kelpie is that it's commonly seen with a wet mane and tail, and its hair usually has little grass or sea kelps in it if you need to differentiate it between a normal horse or a puka. And if you want to know what form the puka takes, go ahead and watch my episode on Puck. Kelpies are usually solitary. They every once in a while work together to achieve a goal. There's a story by John F. Campbell of the Droch na Vauga or Fau that tells about Kelpies coming together and building a bridge together to cross water, but they were tired of crossing the water because they were traveling in cockle shells. So they built a bridge. One tale from the 1800s describes that 10 children were playing near the Loch na Clanon, and they saw a bay horse by the water, so they all ran down to jump on the horse's back. And they weren't suspicious that the horse's back was extremely long and could accommodate that many children, but they did it anyways. So there were 9 kids that had gotten on the back of this horse, and the 10th kid came up and decided to pet the horse first, and when they did, their hands stuck to the fur. And then the horse/Kelpie began to walk into the water, taking all of the children on its back and the person whose hand was stuck. So that person cut off their fingers to get away from the Kelpie that took all of the other children into the depths of the loch. They didn't know what to do when they saw a Kelpie, but you do, right? Are you paying attention? Because you should be paying attention. Because if you get lost in the land of Fae and you don't know this information, you're in human danger. You're in muggle danger. I don't know how many ways I have to say it. You as a human in the fairy realm are in danger. So listen up. In the story Kelpie of Loch Ness by Rebecca Brown, a man named McGregor came across a Kelpie that was wearing a bridle. When he saw this Kelpie, he knew what it was. So he took out his sword and he cut off the nose of the Kelpie. And the bit from the bridle fell out of its mouth. And McGregor picked up that bit and could control the Kelpie. I do not recommend any of this to any human because it's dangerous, 1, it hurts a Fae, 2, and it'll piss off that Fae, 3. But McGregor had the bridle, the bit from the bridle, and decided to tell the Fae that it wasn't allowed to drown anyone else in Loch Ness. I don't know if it's working, but I hope it is. To defend yourself from a Kelpie, simply do not engage with them. Do not pet them, do not talk to them, walk by them. You can look at them without consequence, but you better not ride their back because you're going to be drowned. Very rarely do they fall in love with their captors. There are stories of Kelpies being captured against their will, which here at Femme Petal, we do not condone catching fairies. We do not condone kidnapping fairies. We do not condone fairy nap. You must have consent from the Fae if you are in the Realm of Fae or in the mortal world and you encounter Fae. It is not kind to steal fairies from their land or from their anything. You should never kidnap a Fae. I mean, if you kidnap a Fae, you're going to make a lot of enemies, and you're probably not going to make it out alive. So, now that we cleared that up, when a Kelpie is captured in its horse form, it was usually written about that they were used as farm labor against their will. Very few times do the wild horses fall in love with their captors, but they do fall in love with humans every once in a while, as well as falling in love with other Fae. Kelpie lore goes all the way back to the 6th century. There's some very old stones called the Pictish stones that have images of horses carved into them, and these images are called the Pictish beasts. The Kelpie lore predominantly comes from Scottish and Irish belief. The word itself is from Scottish Gaelic, which is difficult, and I apologize if I say it wrong, but it's Kelpie or Colpech, which means heifer or colt, as in like a colt, like a baby horse. There are many different versions of magical horses all over the world. We're going to separate them all into their own species, but these are the varieties of magical horses that I was able to find in mythology and folklore. There's Pegasus, the Aronin, the mares of Diomedes, and the Trojan horse, which all come from Greek mythology. Scandinavian lore has the Niklur, and again, I apologize for pronouncing anything wrong. There's the hippocampus, which has the body of a sea dragon and the torso and head of a horse. The hippocampus is a Mediterranean magical horse that has the body of a sea dragon and the legs, torso, and head of a horse. The Scottish Nuclavie has the body of a horse and a part of a human torso and head and arms. It's a combination. It's kind of part horse, part human. And the Nuclavie has black blood and no skin. Sleipnir, Arvarkar, and Alisviar are Norse horses. The French have the Bayard and Morvark. There's also a horse from Hindu culture that has 7 heads, and its name is the Uchai-Shavaras. Central America has a magical horse that's called Huihuin, while Australia has the Bunyip. So there are magical horses that have come from human storytelling, mythology, folklore, oral storytelling, indigenous peoples' practices all over the world. There are many similar tales of water horses in mythology. In Orkney, there's the Nuggle, and in Shetland, there's the Shupiti, and in the Isle of Man, the Kebiel Ushte. In Scotland, there's a water horse that's called Ech Usej, which is similar to the Kelpie, although it's supposed to be worse than the Kelpie. So you should definitely be careful around lochs, because that's supposedly where they lurk. The pop culture of the Kelpie. The Kelpie and its images have been rewritten about in literature over and over and over again. They're in many books, they're in many comic books, many video games, and movies. The likeness of the Kelpie has been seen in television shows like the American Dragon Jake Long, the show Supergirl in episode Fear Not, and DuckTales. There's many variations of Kelpies in video games. In Flight Rising, there are Kelpies. In Temtem, there is an Oscara. In the Swords of Justice from Pokemon Black and White, there is a Kaleido that looks like a water dragon and it shoots water out of its hooves. In Loch Ness, there is a creature that is referred to as a Kelpie, but it's the movie or show, Loch Ness. However, it resembles a classic plesiosaur, so more of a dinosaur's body instead of a horse form. In the wonderful wizarding world of Harry Potter, there is talk of using Kelpie mane or tail hair and putting it in your wand for specific powers. There's also a moment in Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald where Newt rides a ocean-like creature that looks and resembles the Kelpie. It resembles more of a hippocampus than it does an actual Kelpie from Scottish and Irish lore. So they never specifically say what kind of creature it is. However, that is what I have identified it as. Go watch the movie if you want to make your own assumptions, right? That's it, my sweets. That is all the info that I have on the Kelpie. Now I hope that you can navigate the Realm of Fae in a safe way, because this creature could be your demise if you make the wrong choice. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please, if you can, invest in my Patreon. It's just $5 a month for all of this production, and I greatly appreciate you. I put up special videos of me doing my artwork on there if you want to get a more in-depth look at Femme Petal. All of my socials are down below. Go to Femme Petal's page if you want to learn more about the Realm of Fae. I love you. Au revoir, ma chérie fairies. And thank you for tuning in to Femme Petal Fairy Fridays.